As a Christian, it's essential to approach the mainstream media with a critical eye, recognizing the inherent biases and agendas that can undermine the truth. The Bible warns us to be discerning and not to conform to the patterns of this world, Romans 12:2. In today's information age, this means being cautious of the narratives presented by the mainstream media, which often perpetuate a secular, humanistic worldview that contradicts biblical values. One primary reason Christians cannot trust the mainstream media is its consistent anti-Christian bias. News outlets frequently portray Christians in a negative light, often focusing on scandals or controversies within the church while ignoring the countless positive contributions made by believers. This skewed representation creates a false narrative that Christianity is intolerant, bigoted, or irrelevant. By selectively highlighting certain stories and downplaying others, the media shapes public perception and reinforces a negative stereotype of Christians. Another reason to be wary of the mainstream media is its promotion of moral relativism. The Bible teaches that God's laws and principles are absolute and unchanging, Psalm 119:89, but the media often presents morality as a flexible, subjective concept. News programs and articles frequently advocate for liberal social policies, such as abortion, LGBTQ+ rights, and euthanasia, which directly conflict with biblical teachings. By presenting these issues as morally justifiable or even desirable, the media encourages viewers to abandon absolute moral standards and adopt a more permissive, relativistic worldview. The mainstream media also frequently ignores or distorts stories that highlight the persecution of Christians worldwide. According to Open Doors, a watchdog organization that tracks Christian persecution, over 250 million Christians face extreme levels of persecution in more than 50 countries. However, these stories rarely receive significant coverage in the mainstream media, which instead focuses on more trendy or sensational topics. This lack of attention not only fails to raise awareness about the plight of persecuted Christians, but also perpetuates a false narrative that Christianity is a dominant, oppressive religion. Furthermore, the mainstream media often relies on experts and authorities who are not only antagonistic to Christianity, but also lack a genuine understanding of biblical teachings. These pundits frequently misinterpret or misrepresent Christian doctrine, presenting it as intolerant, outdated, or irrelevant. By amplifying these voices, the media creates a false narrative that Christianity is incompatible with modern society, science, or reason. As a result, Christians are often portrayed as uneducated, close-minded, or bigoted, which further reinforces negative stereotypes. In addition to these concerns, the mainstream media's obsession with sensationalism and ratings can lead to a lack of depth and nuance in their reporting. Complex issues are often reduced to simplistic, binary narratives, which fail to account for the complexity and richness of biblical teachings. This oversimplification can be particularly problematic when dealing with sensitive topics like faith, morality, or ethics, where a more thoughtful and nuanced approach is essential. Ultimately, as Christians, we must recognize that the mainstream media is not a neutral or trustworthy source of information. Its biases, agendas, and distortions can lead us astray and undermine our faith. Instead, we must seek out alternative sources of news and information that align with biblical values and principles. This may involve supporting Christian media outlets, subscribing to faith-based publications, or engaging with online communities that share our values. By being discerning and intentional in our media consumption, we can avoid being conformed to the patterns of this world and instead be transformed by the renewing of our minds, Romans 12:2.